The chandelier lights of the Westbrook Foundation Charity Gala sparkled overhead as Olivia Bennet slipped through the crowd, feeling distinctly out of place. Her simple navy dress, the nicest thing she owned, stood in stark contrast to the designer gown surrounding her. She wasn't supposed to be here, but her hospital colleague had fallen ill, and the foundation was a major donor to their pediatric ward. "Just smile, mingle, and represent the hospital," her supervisor had said. Easy for her to say. Olivia tucked a strand of auburn hair behind her ear and checked her watch. One more hour, then she could return to her small apartment where her younger brother Thomas would be waiting. At 22, he was making remarkable progress with his physical therapy after the accident. But the medical bills kept Olivia working double shifts. She was reaching for a glass of water when the commotion started. Near the entrance to the terrace, "Someone call an ambulance?" A woman's voice pierced through the elegant music. Instinct took over. Olivia pushed through the hesitant crowd to find a man in his late 30s collapsed against the doorframe, breathing erratic, skin ashen. Whispers rippled through the onlookers. "That's Julian Blackwood. Blackwood Industries. The CEO. Olivia knelt beside him, oblivious to the murmurs. "Sir, can you hear me?" "I'm a nurse." His eyes, an intense shade of gray, locked onto hers with surprising clarity despite his distress. His hand clutched at his chest, tie loosened. "I need everyone to step back," Olivia commanded, with quiet authority. She recognized the signs of a severe panic attack, not a heart attack as others were suggesting. "Mr. Blackwood, I'm going to help you regulate your breathing. Focus on me." Something in her calm voice seemed to reach him. As the crowd backed away, Olivia guided him through controlled breathing exercises, her hands steady on his wrist to monitor. His pulse, that's it. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Gradually, his breathing steadied. The paramedics arrived, but by then, Julian was sitting upright, color returning to his face. "I'm fine," he insisted to the medics. "It was just ... A panic attack," Olivia finished softly, for his ears only. He looked at her with surprise. Then, something like recognition, not of her face, but of something deeper. "Thank you," he said, his voice low and unexpectedly vulnerable. As the paramedics insisted on examining him and the crowd dispersed, her shift at the hospital started in 2 hours. And this brief drama was already fading into the background of her busy life. She never expected to see Julian Blackwood again. She certainly never expected him to appear at the hospital 3 days later, asking for her by name, with those intense gray eyes searching her face as he said simply, "You saved me. Now I need to ask you something important." Olivia stared at Julian Blackwood, momentarily speechless as he stood before her in the hospital corridor. Even in casual attire, charcoal sweater and dark jeans, he commanded attention, stark contrast to the clinical surroundings. "Blackwood, I was just doing my job," she finally replied, conscious of curious glances from her colleagues. "Julian, please." His voice was softer than at the gala. "Know what you did went beyond professional obligation." Most people backed away. You stepped forward. Olivia shifted uncomfortably. "My break ends in 10 minutes. Then perhaps I could walk with you to the cafeteria? I promise I won't take much of your time." They sat at a corner table, Julian looking oddly out of place, with his paper cup of hospital coffee. "I wanted to thank you properly," he began. "Not with a check or flowers, though I considered both, but with something more meaningful." He hesitated, seeming to struggle with vulnerability. "The foundation you represented at the gala? They're planning a new community health initiative. I'd like to become a major contributor, directed specifically at accessible mental health services." Olivia's eyes widened. "That's incredibly generous. It's not charity. It's necessary." Something in his expression shifted. "That panic attack wasn't random. I've had them since I was a teenager, after my parents died in a house fire. I was away at school. My younger sister," he paused. "She didn't make it out." "I'm so sorry," Olivia whispered, seeing beyond the powerful CEO to the wounded man beneath. "I've built walls since then. Blackwood Industries became my fortress." His fingers tapped against the cup. "But when you helped me, something changed. Looking into your eyes, I felt ... seen. Not as a CEO or a name in financial papers, but as a person. Olivia's pager beeped, breaking the moment. She glanced down with a sigh. I need to go. Julian nodded. Of course, hesitated, then added. Would you consider meeting me again? Perhaps dinner? Discuss the foundation project, of course? He added quickly, Olivia should have said no. Her life was complicated enough between Thomas's care and her demanding schedule. Yet something in Julian's hesitant invitation, the way vulnerability and strength existed in his expression, made her nod. Saturday evening, I'm off at 6. That dinner became a turning point. In a quiet restaurant away from prying eyes, Julian shared more about his sister Emma, while Olivia spoke of Thomas's accident and her dreams of a community clinic for underserved neighborhoods. As weeks passed, their worlds gradually intertwined. Julian attended one of Thomas's therapy sessions, impressing Olivia with his genuine interest. She accompanied him to a business dinner where he negotiated funding for youth programs instead of luxury developments. One evening, walking her home, Julian stopped beneath a streetlight, his expression serious. Olivia, these past weeks I haven't felt this way in years. When I told you to heal my heart that day at the hospital, I didn't realize how literal that request would become. Before she could respond, he leaned down, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that felt like coming home. Neither noticed the car parked across the street, or the camera capturing their embrace, evidence that would soon test everything building between them. The photograph appeared in the business section of the Sunday paper. Julian Blackwood, notorious workaholic CEO, kissing an unknown woman outside her modest apartment building. The caption speculated about his mystery lady and what this meant for Blackwood Industries' future. Olivia's phone rang incessantly that morning. Colleagues, acquaintances, even Thomas's physical therapist called with questions and congratulations. You're dating Julian Blackwood? Thomas asked over breakfast, eyebrows raised. The same guy whose company you were complaining about last month when they bought that medical supply chain? Olivia winced. She had compartmentalized that knowledge, pushing aside the fact that Julian's business practices had directly impacted healthcare costs at her hospital. It's complicated, she admitted. Julian called, his voice tense. I'm sorry about the newspaper. My PR team is handling it, but I need to know you're okay. I'm fine, she lied, watching Thomas struggle to reach his medication on the counter. Another reminder of their precarious situation, but we should talk. They met at a quiet park, autumn leaves crunching beneath their feet. Julian looked tired, shadows under his eyes suggesting he hadn't slept. The board called an emergency meeting, he explained. They're concerned I'm distracted, making emotional decisions. The mental health initiative, pulling out of the Monroe Tower project, the new employee benefits package, they're connecting it all to you, and are they right? Olivia asked quietly. Julian ran a hand through his hair. Yes and no. You've reminded me of what matters, of who I was before grief and ambition consumed everything. But these changes, they're not just about you. They're about the person I want to be. Julian, I need to ask you something, Olivia said, gathering courage. The medical supply acquisition last month, did you know it would raise costs for hospitals? Like mine? His expression tightened. Business decisions are complex. That acquisition saved jobs at 3 facilities while making operations more efficient. That's not what I asked, she interrupted gently. Julian's silence was answer enough. I can't be with someone whose decisions hurt the people I'm trying to help, she said, throat tight with emotion, no matter how I feel about you. How do you feel? He asked, vulnerability breaking through his composed exterior. Before she could answer, her phone rang Thomas's ringtone. Her brother never called during her shifts unless it was an emergency. Thomas? What's wrong? His voice came through, panicked. Liv, I fell trying to get to the bathroom. I think I hit my head. Everything's spinning. Julian drove them to the emergency room, his usual commanding presence, clearing paths through hospital bureaucracy. Hours later, when Thomas was stable and sleeping, he found Olivia in the waiting room, her scrubs rumpled from her previous shift. You can't keep doing this alone, Julian said softly, sitting beside her. I've managed for years, she responded, exhaustion evident in her voice. But you shouldn't have to. He hesitated. Olivia, there's something I haven't told you. After the fire, I was supposed to become Emma's guardian. I was 19, in college. Chose my education and career instead. She went into foster care. Olivia looked up, seeing raw pain in his eyes. The night of the gala, I'd just learned she died of an overdose 2 years ago. I never even knew she was struggling. His voice broke. When you helped me through that panic attack, you showed me kindness I didn't deserve. But Thomas deserves everything: your care, proper support, a better living situation. What are you suggesting? Let me help. Not as charity, but as someone who failed his own family and can't bear to see history repeat itself. In the sterile hospital lighting, they faced each other. Two people haunted by their pasts, standing at a crossroads that would define their futures. Autumn faded into winter, and with it came a fragile peace. Julian had arranged for Thomas to receive specialized therapy at a prestigious rehabilitation center, and Olivia had cautiously allowed Julian back into her life, though doubts lingered beneath the surface. On a snowy December evening, Olivia stepped into Julian's penthouse for a dinner he had been planning for days. The sprawling view of the city lights contrasted sharply with her small apartment. "This is beautiful," she admitted, accepting a glass of wine. Julian seemed unusually tense despite his smile. "I wanted tonight to be special." He guided her to the sofa, their fingers intertwined. "I've been thinking about us, about the future." Before he could continue, Olivia's phone buzzed with a text from her colleague. "Patricia, did you know? Blackwood Industries just bought Westside Community Center. They're planning to demolish it next month." Olivia's hand trembled. The community center was where Thomas had first started therapy after his accident. It served hundreds of families who couldn't afford private care. "Is this true?" to show Julian the message, watching his expression shift from confusion to recognition. "The Riverside Development Project?" "Yes, we acquired that property. But Olivia, you don't understand. When..." She interrupted. "When did you know about this?" Julian hesitated. "The acquisition was finalized last week, but the project has been in development for months. The word hung between them. "All this time you've been helping Thomas, knowing you were planning to destroy a place that helps hundreds of others like him?" "It's not that simple," Julian insisted, professional. Composure returning. Its center is outdated, the building unsafe. The development will include new community facilities that most of those families won't be able to afford. Olivia stood, anger and disappointment overwhelming her. "You talk about changing, about making amends for your sister, but this is exactly the kind of decision that puts profits over people." "This isn't about profits," Julian countered, frustration evident. "It's about sustainable development. The new complex will have subsidized units, better facilities. Did you ever think to ask the people who actually use that center what they need?" Olivia challenged. "Or did you just decide what was best for them from your penthouse view?" Julian's expression hardened. "I've spent 15 years building this company, making difficult decisions. You can't expect me to dismantle my entire business model overnight." "I never asked you to," Olivia said quietly. "Just thought your heart was changing. Thought we were changing each other." She moved toward the door, tears threatening. "Olivia, wait." Julian caught her hand. "What I was going to tell you tonight, I love you. I want a future with you. We can work through this." She looked at him, heartbreaking. "I think I love you too, Julian. But love isn't enough if we're working toward different futures." As she left, snow began falling more heavily, matching the cold emptiness spreading through her chest the next morning. Olivia arrived at the hospital to find herself reassigned to administrative duties of promotion, according to her supervisor. The timing wasn't coincidental. Julian's influence, even with good intentions, felt like another betrayal. Meanwhile, across town, Julian stared at the Riverside development plans spread across his desk, Emma's photograph beside them, seeing for the first time how far he still needed to go to truly heal. January brought relentless snow and silence between them. Olivia threw herself into work, while Thomas continued his therapy, unaware of the rift between his sister and the man who had become a friend. Julian disappeared from public view, canceling appearances and delegating meetings. Rumors swirled through business circles. Blackwood was planning something big, something unprecedented. One frosty morning, Olivia opened the newspaper to find Blackwood Industries. Full-page announcement: the Riverside development was being reimagined as the Emma Blackwood Community Health Campus, a collaborative project designed with input from current community center users, local healthcare workers, and neighborhood residents. Her phone rang minutes later. Not Julian, but Patricia. "Have you seen the news? They're holding a town hall at the community center tonight. Everyone's talking about it." Curiosity overcame Olivia's resolve. That evening, she slipped into the back of the crowded meeting room. Watching Julian stand before the community, not as a CEO, but as a man asking for guidance. "I made a mistake," he began, his voice carrying through the hushed room. "I thought I knew what this neighborhood needed without asking. Tonight I'm here to listen." For 2 hours, he did just that, absorbing criticism, answering questions honestly, presenting a vision where the development would serve the community rather than displace it. Olivia remained silent, observing the man she'd fallen in love with, finally aligning his actions with the heart she'd glimpsed beneath his defenses. As the meeting concluded, her eyes met across the room. Julian froze momentarily, then made his way toward her, community members thanking him as he passed. "You came," he said simply. When he reached her, "I needed to see for myself." Olivia studied him, noting the dark circles under his eyes, the humility in his posture. "Would you walk with me? There's something I need to show you." They strolled through the snowy neighborhood, breath clouding in the cold air. "These past weeks have been the darkest since Emma died," Julian admitted. "Losing you made me realize how far I still had to go." They stopped before a small storefront with a for-lease sign. "This is what I wanted to show you," Julian said. "It's 2 blocks from the planned health campus. It's a perfect location for the community clinic you've always dreamed of opening." Olivia stared at him, speechless. "It's not a bribe," he clarified quickly. "Whether or not you give me another chance, the space is yours if you want it. The foundation will provide initial funding, but you'll have complete control." "Why?" she whispered. "Because you were right," his voice caught. "About everything. The night you left, I looked at those development plans and finally saw what I'd become. Someone who thought money and influence could fix problems without addressing their roots." He took a deep breath. "You asked me to heal your heart that first day, but you've done more than that. You've helped me find my soul again." Olivia felt tears freezing on her cheeks. "I missed you. I missed you more than I thought possible." Julian hesitated, then reached for her hand. "Forgiveness immediately. But I'm asking for a chance to prove that people can change, that I can change. We both need to change," Olivia admitted. "I was so focused on helping others that I never learned to accept help myself." As they stood together in the gentle snowfall, Olivia realized the truth. Healing wasn't about fixing what was broken, but about building something new from the pieces. Whether it was a community center, a relationship, or a heart long closed to love. The process required patience, honesty, and courage. "I think," she said, squeezing his hand, "we might be good at healing each other." Julian's smile, warm, genuine, unburdened by the weight of his past, was answer enough as they walked forward together into the snowy evening. 2 people who had saved each other in ways neither could have imagined.